I'm standing on Ward Street, North Adelaide, and this is the former home of Richard Kelvin, number 31 Ward Street. This is the home on Sunday evening, June 5th, 1983. Richard Kelvin and his best mate Carl Brooks, nicknamed Boris, come out of this house to walk to O'Connell Street. They probably would have come out of this gate here. Carl wanted to catch the bus home, so they began walking. Richard Kelvin and Carl Brooks walking west down Ward Street. Now, ironically, Carl Brooks wanted to go to the bus stop, not on O'Connell Street, but to the bus in front of the Adelaide Women and Children's Hospital, which is down Margaret Street here. So Carl wanted to go to the bus stop that way. But to get to that bus stop, you have to go through Brome Gardens. And with great irony, Richard did not want to walk across the gardens at night for fear of being mugged. So instead of coming this way, Richard insisted they catch the bus on O'Connell Street. So they continued walking in a westerly direction down Ward Street toward O'Connell Street. I mean, that's a terrible irony, that perhaps if Richard and Carl had gone to the bus stop across Brome Gardens, Richard could have been spared his fate. Who knows? So this is, I'm walking on the southern side of Ward Street, which I'm assuming Richard and Carl walked on that Sunday evening, June the 5th, 1983, toward O'Connell Street. At some point they'd have to cross over. So it's not a long walk from the Kelvin home, which was at 31 Ward Street. It's a few hundred metres to O'Connell Street. At some point they'd have to cross the road to the northern side of Ward Street. That's what I'm going to have to do in a minute. So we've already nearly reached O'Connell Street. Now crossing to the northern side of Ward Street. Again, I'm assuming that they took this path. They could have gone the shorter route along Marion, but you'd think they'd come this way. So we're now approaching O'Connell Street on the northern side of Ward Street. Of course, this was a Sunday evening when Richard was abducted, so would have been not as many people around. Now up to O'Connell Street. turn right. Now we're heading in a northerly direction down up Ward Street towards where the bus stop was. So here is about this general area where the bus stop was, where Richard and Carl came to on that night. Now, looking at the old photos, the bus stop was pretty much in the same area. Obviously the shop fronts have changed, but it was around this area. So Richard and Carl were here. They waited for a bit. They didn't wait too long. A bus eventually turned up. Carl got on the bus. Getting off the bus were two young men. I think they were teenagers who knew Richard a bit.
Yeah, I didn't realise how far away it is. I'm parked.
Their names were, I think, Frank Morello and Frank D'Antocchia. I think I've got their pronunciation right. They met Richard, they greeted him, they had a quick chat while Carl got on the bus. The bus pulled away. It would have headed south. The two Franks bid farewell to Richard, and then Richard began to walk home. Now, after he walked home, to get back home, he then came down Marion Street, which is a little side street that runs off Ward Street. This is Marion Street. Now, it's quite dark down here, so Richard started, I think he was jogging. He was very keen to get home. His tea was cooking. He wanted to get back and speak to his girlfriend. So I think he started jogging down Marion Street, which is here. Originally I thought he'd gone back along Ward Street, but this would make sense too. This is Marion Street, and it leads into, I think it's Bolton Street, which will lead back onto Ward Street. So Richard jogged or walked down here. He would have turned right up here. Now it's going to get dark around here, so forgive me if we lose light. Richard would have turned right into Bolton Street. You see it leads back onto Ward Street. Now we're back onto Ward Street. As you can see, that is Bolton Street. So yes, Richard come out of Bolton Street, back onto Ward Street, and I'm assuming he stayed on the, let's say he stayed on the northern side of Ward Street and began walking or jogging back up toward his home, which is only a couple of 100 metres away. Now at some point, Bevan Spencer von Einem and his carload of mates would have been following Richard at some point around here. Exactly where, not sure. But there's not far to go from here to Richard's home in number 31 Ward Street. So at some point, as we approach the corner of Margaret Street, is where Von Einem and the crew made their move. Clearly by now, Von Einem would have been trailing Richard, and Richard may well have been aware of it. And we're coming up to the corner of Margaret Street and Ward Street in the approximate location of the abduction of Richard Kelvin. So here we are at the corner of Margaret Street. This is the corner of Margaret and Ward Street, and it was somewhere around here where Richard Kelvin was abducted. Richard would have come from that direction, which is west, east, somewhere here. Now, to get home, Richard's house is very close here, maybe 50 meters or less from this very location. So, but somewhere here is where the abduction took place. You're looking at the corner of Margaret Street and Ward Street. Now, at the Von Einem murder trial of Richard Kelvin in October 1984, 5 separate people testified to hearing Richard Kelvin's abduction. One of them was a man named Robin Kirkpatrick, who lived at Unit 132 Margaret Street. Now, he was a man who was in bed with the flu on that Sunday evening, and at approximately, I think it was 6:15 p.m.ish, he heard Richard Kelvin's abduction. He heard cries for help, he heard multiple voices, car door slamming, and then a noisy car drive off. Now, there was another witness named Julie O'Reilly who said she thought the sounds were coming from the Margaret Street lane. Now, Mr. Kirkpatrick lived in Margaret Street, which is down here. We'll go for a walk and have a look where he lived, which indicates there is a possibility that Richard was actually abducted, perhaps in this area here. Richard may have seen Von Einem trailing him and ducked here into Margaret Street to avoid him. And the actual abduction could have happened around here. Now, there are a series of units here, and this is where one of the witnesses, Robin Kirkpatrick, he lived here, in these units here. This is number 32, so he lived in one of these units. That's the corner of Margaret and Ward, maybe 25 meters away. So he could hear the abduction from here. Now, as I said, one of the witnesses, Julie O'Reilly, said she heard the commotion coming from a laneway. Now, there is an alleyway that runs here through Margaret Street. It's called Pepper Tree Lane. You can see it runs in here. We'll go down and have a look. It's got to be quiet here. This is an alleyway. Well, a laneway, I guess you'd call it. See, it leads into more. It doesn't go anywhere. It just leads to more houses. So this is Pepper Tree Lane, and it continues across Margaret Street. We continue down this laneway. Quite here. This is where the witness, Julie O'Reilly, said she heard the noise coming from. If we follow this lane all the way down, I believe it leads into Murray Street. which connects with Richard's. I mean, Richard could have ducked off Ward Street into Margaret Street. See his house. Richard's house is just across the road here. He's just where that car is on the other side. Richard's house is just around there somewhere. So he could have attempted to escape his followers down this lane, but it's highly unlikely that the abduction would happen in such a confined space as here. Richard was forced into the car by multiple people. He was struck on the head with an object, which perhaps knocked him unconscious before being driven away. One witness, Rodney O'Reilly, said he heard the noise coming from the Margaret Street, Ward Street corner. A witness named Ann Stewart said she heard the noise coming from a lane behind her house. And Anna Law Thompson said it was in the Murray Street, Ward Street area, which is where we just come from. So it's possible Richard was abducted here, somewhere either on the corner of Margaret Street or even further into Margaret Street. But the abduction of Richard Kelvin definitely happened in this vicinity. And it is even more tragic that Richard was so close to home. So close to home. Less than 50 metres from here is where Richard's home was, but he never made it. Right, we're coming off Hannaford Hump Road, off Lower Hermitage Road down Airstrip Road, and a car is coming. Is there enough room for two? Busy road. This is Airstrip Road, which leads to the site to Richard Kelvin's dumping site. Assume Bevan Spencer von Einem travelled down here, most likely on the night of Sunday, July 10th, 1983, or the early morning of the 11th. Richard's body was found on Sunday afternoon, July 24th, 1983. We'll come up to, this is, again repeating, this is Airstrip Road in Sampson Flat. We'll come up to a little entry into the old airstrip. There's a gate there now, but in 1983 it was accessible by car, and most likely von Einem would have driven into the open gate and a bit onto the airstrip and placed Richard's body into the scrub. So it's an old airstrip. Is it here? Right here? Yep, here it is. There it is right there. I'll get out and have a look. Okay. So we think, not 100% sure, but perhaps von Einem entered here. That's looking down Airstrip Road back toward Lower Hermitage Road. Now, trying to find the exact location where Richard Kelvin's body is difficult. But this is perhaps where Bevan Spencer von Einem drove to. This is Richard Kelvin's body was found off the airstrip. Now this is the first point of entry on the airstrip. Now you can see there's a gate here, but according to Bob O'Brien's book Youngblood, in July 1983 there was no fence blocking entry to the airstrip. So let's assume Von Einem drove in this way. Climb over this fence. Oh. Bear with me. Now, this appears to be the beginning of the old airstrip. As you can see, it runs directions that east, up the hill. Now, where exactly Richard Kelvin's body was found is very difficult to determine. Harder than I thought, actually. I had envisioned it further up, but this appears more likely the location. But we'll walk along the airstrip. But this used to be an old airstrip. That is Airstrip Road to the right of screen. We'll assume Von Einem made entry through that gate, drove onto Airstrip, to the old airstrip, up here somewhere. Now, it's described that Richard's body was found 50 metres from Airstrip Road there, and then 15 metres from the airstrip, which could indicate he was found in this area here. He was found just on the edge of Mount Crawford Forest, which is over here. It may have been in this location, but I'm not 100% sure. That's Airstrip Road, the airstrip, and this is the edge of the airstrip. Richard was found by a blackboy bush, which I think is these spindly looking things here. Okay, so we'll say that's the airstrip. Now 15 metres off the airstrip is around here. Now I'll show you a photo which is of the crime scene back in July 1983. Is that this area here? That is the question. So if I'm Von Einem and I drive in, let's say it's around this area here that Richard's body was found. Again, I don't know the exact location, and it's quite difficult. This airstrip runs a fair distance, but he may have been found in this area, Richard. Richard's body was found on Sunday afternoon, July the 24th, 1983. Richard's body was found by a man named Trevor Holmes. He was out collecting rocks, I believe, on that Sunday afternoon. And he found Richard lying on his side in the fetal position among these blackboy bushes, I think they're called. So it could be in this area here. Richard had been lying here for 2 weeks. He was most likely dumped here around Sunday, July the 10th, 1983. His body found 2 weeks later on Sunday, July 24th, 1983. Most interestingly, he was found with the dog collar back around his neck. Of course, he'd taken the dog collar off when he was waiting on the bus, for the bus on O'Connell Street, and put it in his pocket, but when his body was found, the dog collar was back around his neck. He was fully clothed, as the same clothes that he wore when he was abducted. Richard had suffered the same anal injuries as the other victims and had died from bleeding from the rectum. but he'd been held captive for an incredible amount of time, 5 weeks. And he'd also sustained bruising to his back and to one of his buttocks, indicating he'd been beaten while being held captive. The autopsy revealed at least 4 different sedatives in Richard's system, including mandrakes. And it was the connection with the mandrakes, which is a sedative, that led police to Bevan Spencer von Einem. But Richard may have been found in this vicinity here. I'll keep walking up the airstrip a bit, just to cover. Again, I'm not sure. If he was found, it was off the airstrip, so in this vicinity here. So I said the Airstrip Road is to the right of screen. I'm walking on the airstrip itself, the old airstrip, and Richard's body was found about 15 metres from the airstrip, which is in the scrub area there, on the edge of Mount Crawford Forest. As you can see, the airstrip runs quite a distance up the hill. But it would have been somewhere in this area that Richard's body was found on July 24th, 1983. If I had to guess, I'd say it was in this area down here. As I said, Richard was found in the fetal position, indicating he'd been carried by one individual. If 2 people had been carrying him, he would have been stretched out more when he was placed on the ground. So undoubtedly Bevan Spencer von Einem dropped Richard's body here by himself. That night they think Richard was placed here, which was I think Sunday, July the 10th. That night von Einem had attended a party with his mother, I think at relatives or friends of theirs, which the defence tried to use as evidence that it couldn't have been von Einem, but all that means is that von Einem would have dumped Richard Kelvin in the middle of the night, or perhaps first thing in the morning before work. So this is the general location where Richard Kelvin's body was found on Sunday, July 24th, 1983. Just off Airstrip Road in the area of Sampson Flat beside Mount Crawford Forest. This is St. Lawrence's Catholic Church on Buxton Street, North Adelaide, near the corner of Hill Street. This is the church where on September the 9th, 1983, Richard Kelvin's funeral was held, here in North Adelaide. Not too far from his home in Ward Street, actually, albeit this is on the western side of O'Connell Street. Richard lived on the eastern side of O'Connell Street. More southerly, this is more northerly. Let's go on over and have a look. Church was built in 1867-68, so a very old church. That is Hill Street there. We're on Buxton Street, North Adelaide. Let's go and have a bit of a closer look at St. Lawrence's Church. Doors open. Might have a quick peek inside if we can. There we have it. Quick peek inside. Wasn't expecting that. Here at St. Lawrence's Church in North Adelaide. Repeating, this was the scene on September the 9th, 1983, where Richard's funeral was held. Then of course he was taken to his final resting place in Centennial Park. So there we have it, St. Lawrence's Church, North Adelaide. I'm here in Centennial Park Cemetery on Goodwood Road to visit the gravesite of Richard Kelvin. Richard is buried in Lawn 2 section, row number 22. Richard's grave is second from the path. This is Richard's gravesite here. That reads Richard Dallas Kelvin, taken June 5, 1983, age 15. So much potential, such love of life, so sadly missed. Son of Rob and Betty Ann, brother of Jesse. Richard was buried here on September the 9th, 1983. See, there's a photo of Richard. Repeating, Richard is in Lawn 2 section, aisle row 22, Centennial Park. Rest in peace, Richard.